Okay, welcome to this sixth video about formatting long documents, particularly formatting documents that are long academic texts, dissertations, essays, theses, that sort of thing. In this video, we are going to start seeing the most exciting feature of a word processor that, if you don't already know about it, is probably going to revolutionize your life and save you hours and hours and hours of fixing things when you have written a very long document and then you suddenly realize, oh, my headings are in the wrong font, or oh, the spacing is not quite right. You don't have to go back to every page. We are going to be looking at styles. I'm a big fan of styles. I use them habitually now in every document I make. It is one of those examples in life where a little bit of upfront preparation saves a lot of heartache later. Now, styles are predefined combinations of formatting, both paragraph and font formatting, that you can apply throughout your document, but are defined in one place. And as you probably have noticed already on the screen, we're on the home ribbon. The styles subsection sits next to the paragraph subsection on this ribbon. And there are visible, when my ribbon is open, already 5 styles that I can use in my document. There are a lot more, as I'm going to show you, that in fact embedded in every single Word document that derives from the master template built into your word processor. There are normally hundreds of these, but they will normally show you the most common and frequently used ones in this sort of preview window on your styles ribbon. The 5 we can see is something called normal, which is the most important style. Normal is your default text. Normal is the baseline from which everything else is derived. And then we have some others like no spacing. So that's going to be a normal text, but with a different kind of spacing arrangement. Heading, which is a kind of paragraph that is numbered or has a level attached to it. Title, which would go on your front page. And if I click on this drop-down box here, you see styles give your document a consistent, polished look. And they also allows you to use the navigation pane, which is brilliant, and to add an automatically generated table of contents. They are really, really powerful. I'm going to click down here and I'm going to say, oh, okay, here's a few more that my software is offering to me. A subtitle, a subtle emphasis, a quote, intense quote, book title. So these are all the ones that Microsoft Office is giving me by default. But I can also set my own or modify these depending on what I want. All right, first of all, let's have a look at normal. If I click here inside any of these paragraphs on my page, you can see that the normal style is highlighted on my ribbon. So basically what it's showing me is that in this paragraph, the style applied right now across everything I've added to this document is all normal. But if I place my cursor inside a paragraph and I click a different style, that style is the one that is applied. Okay, now can you see that this one is highlighted and this one is called no spacing? And did you see the jump? Did you see that as soon as I applied it, this is a style that does not have spacing before and after the paragraph? Looks ugly, but that's what it does. I could click heading. Oh, well, hello. And can you see this little triangle here on the right, which allows you to fold everything that follows from that heading? So basically you can think of a heading almost like a drawer on a wall unit. You can kind of pull it in and pull it out to show what's inside or underneath that heading. So when you use a heading style, and they go 9 levels down, heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, corresponding with the levels we saw earlier, it formats the paragraph according to the font settings. This one's blue and it's big. It also attaches a level. And heading styles also, if we go to view, show me the navigation pane, starts to create a list of hyperlinks or shortcuts in the navigation pane that lets you jump around your document really easily. So almost kind of like an index, if you like. If I was to click on another paragraph and apply the heading style again, that will also become, oh, that's heading 2. So you can see it's one level in. I want heading 1. Okay, now it is at the same level here. And look at this, I can jump in my document from one section to another, which is heck of a useful. If I go back and I click on that paragraph and I reformat it as normal, it is stripped from the headings hyperlinks in my navigation pane. This is a very, very long heading. No one would hopefully ever have a heading like that, but you can go heading 1. But over here we have the next section of my document. Thank you for fixing that for me. Also make it level heading 1. Oh, there we go. And inside here I'm going to have a few subheading, and I'm going to go heading level 2. Another subheading. I do heading level 2, and starting to populate my navigation pane. This is so incredibly useful. All right, we're going to have a look now at all the styles that are offered, but here's where the power of styles really comes into its own. Let's say you decide that you want your text default to have a different look and feel. You decide that you want to use a serifed font, you want it to be slightly bigger, you want a little bit more space between the lines and between the paragraphs, and you want to change the justification. What would you do? Well, you go to your normal style, you right-click on it, and you say modify. And it opens a modify style dialog. Don't get put off by how complicated this looks. It's actually incredibly simple. The name of the style is normal, and I always recommend that you leave normal at your default setting. And if you want to have a few different looks and feels, because different paragraphs in your document, maybe some are quotes from people, maybe some are extracts or transcripts of dialogue that you're working with, then you can say build a new style from normal, and it will inherit all of normal's properties, and you can add some extra properties to it. But we're going to leave this as normal, and I say, okay, it's a paragraph style, and when I hit return, keep the next paragraph as also normal. You can imagine when we look at modifying headings in a minute, that you don't always want the next paragraph to have the same style as the previous one. For example, when I hit return after putting a new heading in, I want the next paragraph to be normal text. I don't want more headings. So that's where you can set the paragraph style that follows. And then all the other formatting is what we've already explored in the previous videos. We have lots of the font formatting, bold or Calibri, size. We have some of the paragraph formatting, alignment, line spacing, indentation. We have a little preview window that shows us what it's going to look like. And we have also a text description of what's going on, which is incredibly helpful. So this default font is Calibri, left aligned, multiple line spacing at 1.08 lines, and a space after, which is 8 points. Widow and orphan control, which means that you don't strand a single line of a paragraph on the page following or the page before. And I want it to be in my styles gallery, which is this little preview pane here on my ribbon. We'll talk perhaps in a later video, I hope, about setting templates so that you can make new documents always open with a particular set of styles. I have different sets of templates that I use, some of which I would do for reports, some of which I would do for journal article papers. It depends on what I'm writing, but I set up templates with sets of styles in them. And then I can just open that template and whoop, it generates me a new document with all the look and feel that I like, and I don't have to redo any of this again. If you really want to go into the nitty-gritty details of changing your style, click Format, and look, you can access all the detailed dialogues here. So this is your standard font dialogue that we've seen before. We've already explored that in a previous video. You can access all the powerful paragraph formatting, including tabs. You can access tabs directly. You can access borders. So we had a previous look at, well, we're not going to do a lot about borders and shading in these videos, but they can be useful. I've used them in a couple of diagrams where I wanted to put a box around a particular kind of text, and then I would define a style going boxed normal, and I would set some borders settings in my boxed normal style. Numbering, etc. Okay, let's change the normal default style in this document. We want it to be Times New Roman. We want it to be 12 point. We want it to be black text, automatic color. Yes, please. I want it to be justified. I want the line spacing to be 1.5 line spacing. That'll do just fine. Oh, and I want to just check that before and after space. So I go to my paragraph. After is 8. I'm going to make it 6. And I press OK. Can you see now? Here is my definition that I just said. Every single paragraph in my document that is styled with normal has now changed. All of them. But all of the paragraphs that are not styled with normal have not changed. And I think this starts to illustrate the power of what this can do. Let's say some of these are quotes from academics, block quotes, things that I want to make look a little bit different from my normal text. I can go, all right. Once again, we have a, let me show you what I just did there. We have a further styles menu. I click there and it opens up a whole floating pane for me, which is really useful. The beauty of a pane is that it's different from a dialogue. A pane stays open, but you can then change the focus of your cursor or your mouse and it remains open. With a dialogue, you have to finish with the dialogue and either cancel your changes or apply them before you can return to your document. So this is a pane. And you can see that I've got quite a few styles here. The ones that have a little tilde next to them are paragraph styles. But some of them also have a little A next to them, meaning that they have some font settings as well. So perhaps a different font color or size. And some of them are just character styles. They don't have the tilde, which means that you can apply them to individual characters or words. They don't apply to whole paragraphs. For example, subtle emphasis is a character style, not a paragraph style. I can grab a little piece of my text here. I'm going to hide my formatting just so it's a little bit less visually messy. And I'm going to give me subtle emphasis. This will make it italic. And I can do it to a subsection of a paragraph. I can apply this to a little bit inside a paragraph. So if you want to use emphasis and you want to use it consistently throughout your document, you could use that character style as a kind of overlay, sort of top layer, the icing on top of the cake. If you recall, our styles and formatting are a cake analogy. The paragraph style or the paragraph formatting is the sponge of the cake, and the character style or character formatting is the icing on top. Okay, I want to create a new style. I want to use it every time I have a block quote. I am going to say, create a new style. It's this bottom square here, which says A+. And I'm going to call my style block quote. It's based on normal, and it is a paragraph style. And I want it to be justified, but I want it to be italicized, and I want it to be indented from the left and the right. So I'm going to set an indentation of 1.5 centimeters on both the left and the right. Don't worry if you don't remember to put a space in. The software resolves it. You go, okay. Look at my preview, and I go, okay. And there you go. Now, every time I have a block quote, I don't have to go and redo that. I can just select my paragraph, click on block quote, and it will apply. Let's say we've got another one in here that we want to do. I want this to be a block quote. And then I decide, oh, you know what? These block quotes don't look quite right. I want the line spacing to be a little bit tighter. I just go to my block quote style. I go modify. I go format paragraph. And I'm going to go to line spacing and go, can you make that? Actually, I want to make it 1.2 instead of 1.5. And I go, okay. And then every single block quote in my entire document just changed, as will all future new block quotes. And imagine if you've got like a 300-page long document, that's very, very useful. But what follows a block quote? In academic text, there should be a citation next. I want it to look the same, but I want it to be on the right-hand side. I'm not going to now manually go, okay, enter, put it on the right, citation of person here, because I will have to do that manually for every block quote in my document. And if I change my mind about the appearance of it, I will have to go back and manually change each one. So rather, I'm just going to do a little bit of prep in the beginning, and I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to have a citation after every single one of these things. I'm going to create a new style, and I'm going to call it block quote citation. And it's going to be exactly the same as block quote. I'm going to base it on block quote. The paragraph afterwards is going to go back to normal. Once I've done my block quote, I don't want to do more block quoting. I want to go back to my normal text. And the only difference between block quote and block quote citation is the alignment. So I'm going to not have justified alignment on my citation. I'm going to have right alignment. I'm going to go, okay. Okay, that's not quite what I wanted. Go back here. This is block quote. And look at that. I'm going to actually go back to that original block quote definition. I'm going to modify it. I'm going to go, cool. Make that paragraph block quote. Make the next one citation. And then every time I make a block quote, in fact, let me reformat this back to normal. Watch this. I select my paragraph. I say, that's a quote. And then enter straight away. Look, now it gives me block quote citation. The person who said this, some year, some page number. And then I press enter again. And look at that. We're back to normal formatting. And I can go for every block quote and go, some person and some year. There was another block quote up here somewhere, wasn't there? Oh, there it is. And I'll go, here's my citation. And then maybe say, okay, actually, I want my block quote citation to also be bold. Modify, make it bold. Okay, well, looky. It has changed every single one of them. So much more powerful than going and changing them manually. And this can apply to headings. This can apply to bullets and numbered lists. This can apply to your normal text, your quoted text, your headers and your footers and your footnotes, your table of contents. All the text in your document can be styled. In fact, I would argue all the text in your document should be styled. I'm not going to show you my own PhD thesis and show you the styles I used. I'm going to reshare a different screen with you. Right, this is my own PhD thesis that I styled. And you can see on my front page, I have used, in fact, you'll see that there are a lot of very specific styles that I defined to format this very long document. To give you a sense, it is 312 pages long. I do not want to be going through 312 pages changing how many times I hit enter between paragraphs. That is just a waste of time. So let's have a look at what styles I built into this document. So I took the normal title and I created my own version of it, which I called thesis title. And it's a little bit bigger, it's right aligned, and then I have thesis subtitle. Watch how the focus jumps around in the styles pane as I move my cursor. So that is the thesis title, that is the thesis subtitle, that is normal. It is my lovely supervisor. Here I have heading 1, which I made centered, and then I have my normal text. And throughout this document here, I've created a table of contents. You can see it's a field. When I mouse over it, it turns gray. This was all automatically produced from the styles I used to format my sections and my headings. I got different page numbers and different page number styles by using different sections. You restart numbering in new sections. But have a look at my navigation pane on the left-hand side. I mean, for such a long document, you can see this was incredibly helpful for me as a writer and for my supervisor as a reader. And you can fold these up. Remember I said they're kind of like drawers that you can pull out or fold away. So if I fold at the top level of my headings, you can see I had 8 chapters, and then a 9th section, which was references, and a 10th section, which were my appendices. And I also at times went 4 numbers deep. So all the way up to 4 numbers, which I used again for headings. I used 4 levels of headings to achieve this. But the fact that I can fold them up and hide them, click through, if I click on a heading, it takes me to that point. You can see I defined my heading number 1 with a number and a carriage return to put the title of the chapter underneath that number. In fact, let's have a look at that. Let's examine heading 1. Let's have a look. What's going on in here? You see it's bold. It is center aligned. I chose Verdana as my, I don't know why, but I did. And if I go and have a look at my numbering, I defined a particular numbering set in this system. It's not in the preview pane because I haven't used it recently. All right, this is a good example where we can show you how to examine styles. At the bottom of your styles pane, you will see 2 other buttons. We've already used the new style button. This one is called a style inspector. It's an A with a little magnifying glass. You click on that, and then you click on a particular what is happening? There we go. And it opens up a new pane. There it is. It's next to my navigation pane. I'm going to close my navigation pane just to make a bit more space here. The style inspector pane opens up, and it tells me exactly what's going on where I put my cursor. That tells me this is normal, text level formatting, etc. All right, let's have a look at what's happening up here with this. Okay, it is level number 1. There you can start to see what is happening. Everything that I have bundled together in that style. Before spacing is 18, after spacing is number 6. The alignment, indentations based on, followed by, etc., etc. It's all built in there. Now, some of this might feel a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, but when you start to make a habit of setting up your styles at the beginning of a document and then applying them to text as you work, you save yourself so much heartache. You really do. There's so many styles in here that are auto-generated, and some of them are made myself. For example, TOC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are level styles that are auto-produced by Microsoft Word to format a table of contents. And when we do a video later, when you do something like references, it's going to take a little while. You can see that there is a table of contents section on the references ribbon, which allows you to say, okay, please give me an automatic table. And where does that table generate its content from? It generates it from the heading styles that you've used throughout the document. So if you do not style your heading, it will get missed by the table of contents. You can see that these use tab stops, right-aligned tab stops with dotted leads on them. If you don't remember what those are, go back and look in the previous video about tab stops. Okay, so styles are these predefined collections of formatting, paragraph and font, that you can apply to text in your document to make it look in a particular way, signify that it is a special type of text, like a heading or a subheading, which then gets scraped up by a navigation pane or gets scraped up by a table of contents. You can do everything from formatting your footnotes through to your figure captions and your table captions. There's quite a lot of tables in this particular. See, there's my block quotes with my right-aligned quote citation. I want to show you also how I've styled separately. Oh, very long document. See, this is why. So this is a little bit more of a, let's do this the quick way. Let's go navigation pane. I know that there are a lot of tables in chapter 6. So this is where I'm going. There we go. This piece of text here, table 6.1, is a caption. We'll do captions later, but you can see in the styles pane here that I've just moved to the left. In fact, let me dock it. It is a caption format, and I've made it smaller. I've made it 9 point. So it's got a particular look, but it's also a particularly special type of text that a table of authorities will scrape up later. If I go back to the top of my document, after my abstract, there's my table of contents, all built from styles and styling my headings correctly. And then there's a list of figures and tables. That was all generated because I styled those using the correct reference situation here, where you can say insert caption. We'll do that in a later video. And that styles, it creates a field, like a numbered field going, this is caption 1, caption 2, figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, figure 4. You can see table 6.1, table 7.2. I changed my table numbering to match my chapter number so that you could see, this table's in chapter 7, but this table's in chapter 4. And they're all fields. You can see when I select them, they go gray. This figure is in chapter 8, whereas this figure is in chapter 4. But they are also all formatted by, this is where we are now. And so you can make hyperlinks out of them. You can see that this is styled using caption. And I've even got a style for my heading and footer. So you can see this is my footer. If you look on the left here, it's a footer. There's the header. There's a footnote text. Very, very useful. I'm going to close the header and footer now. The last little button here called Manage Styles opens up a completely different dialog. And what that shows you is every single, wow, I mean, there's a lot of them. These are all the styles that are built into not only this document, but every Microsoft document by default. 90% of them you will never use, and that's okay. But it goes to show you how much the structure of a document's formatting sits on this concept of styles. What is useful in this style manager dialog is this little button at the bottom here called Import Export. Because what this does is it allows you to go, well, here are all the styles in this document on my left, and I can open a different file that I used for something else. It opens up in Microsoft templates. We'll talk about the normal template and its importance in a different, but the normal template is the document that Microsoft uses to generate every new document you ever open. But let's say you have another document where you've set up all these styles before and you don't want to do it again. You don't want to do it again. So, for example, if I was to open this document, no, that's not quite what I meant to do. These are all pieces of work that I have not yet finished, unfortunately. But let's just say there's a document in here. I'm just looking around now for something that would be appropriate. I think that in documents, I would find a document. Let's have a look and see if there's something on my desktop that will do the job. It's looking for a template, you see. If I find I don't want a template, I say, give me all the Word documents. Show me a document, not a template. And I'll go, oh, okay. I'm going to go with Summer of Writing. And I'll go, oh, here are all the styles in Summer of Writing that I spent hours setting up. I want to reuse them in a new document. You can just grab the ones you want and say, copy them to the document I'm in, please. Bring those babies over here. I want to reuse them because I like them and I lovingly created them. So inside this style organizer, you can go and grab styles from other documents that you've worked on before. And that's a really nice way of saving yourself some time in the future if you have created a set of styles that you particularly like. I'm not going to do that to this document. Styles can hold all of the different formatting settings that we have explored in the last few videos. So if I create a new, let's go back to my other document where we can make a bit of more of a mess. Right, we're back to our lorem ipsum document. Everything that I can do with formatting can be saved in a style. So I'm going to go my crazy whack job style. I'm going to make this Mistral 14, bold but not italicized, a beautiful blue color, but I'm also going to make it all caps, no, small caps. And I'm going to give it an underline style, wavy, but orange. Okay. My crazy whack job style. So it automatically applies the style you just defined wherever your cursor was. Make that block quote citation again. Thank you. But here we go. My crazy whack job style. Thank you very much. Barely readable. Oh, it's right aligned. I don't want that. Go back, modify, and you make that left aligned, please. And I want it a little bit bigger. And I want a bit more space between the lines. Okay. Anything you can do with font or paragraph formatting can be built into a style. Obviously, for an academic text, you're going to want something sensible. You're going to want something like a 10 or 11 point font. I prefer justified alignment, but if not justified, then left aligned. About 1.5 spacing. Space between the paragraphs. A classic serifed or sans serif font, so either Arial or Verdana or Times New Roman. You would want clean lines. You want it to have widow and orphan control so that you don't strand single lines of paragraphs on previous pages. When we get to looking at sections and breaks, then we can start to look at doing things like columns or a single landscape page in the middle of a portrait-oriented document, controlling the page numbers when they restart or when they continue, etc., etc. But for the purposes of your styles, keep it simple, keep it tidy, go with your normal, and get your headings looking quite neat. So here I've got heading 1. I might want to make heading 1 bold. Personally, I don't know why the default is that it's blue. I think it should be black because for printability, it is better if it's black. This also, whoopsie. Oh, that was already there, wasn't it? There we go. Heading 1. Let's put this back to body. We would not have that. Go back to normal. Make that normal as well. And in fact, let's undo that. If I delete a style, then it will revert back to normal. So if I go here and I go remove all, or select all instances of a style, that's really useful. I can also go revert to block quote citation, which is what it was last. We can clear all the formatting, and it goes back to normal. I think that's pretty much everything on styles. This is a very long video. Thanks if you managed to stay in this far. Next future videos are going to show how to do some more specific things like captions on tables and figures, automatic generation of table of contents, but probably the most important thing that we haven't yet covered are sections and how to use section breaks, page breaks, headers and footers. So all of that coming soon. Thanks for watching.